Hello everyone. I thought I'd take a few minutes just to go over briefly what protein is. So here's a quick overview of protein and amino acids. So just as a reminder, the building blocks of proteins are amino acids, and there are 9 essential amino acids, which means that the body cannot make them, and so you must obtain them from the diet. And then there are 11 non-essential amino acids, which doesn't mean that they're not important. It just means that the body can make them on their own and doesn't necessarily have to get them from the diet. There are different sequences of amino acids which create different proteins, and there are thousands of different combinations that can be created with amino acids. All proteins have different shapes, different lengths, and therefore different functions. So protein, after the amino acids have assembled and have created these larger compounds, they're made into something, and then when we ingest them, they're actually broken down again into different amino acids in the stomach and in the small intestine with the help of specialized enzymes, which are also proteins. So the structure of proteins is also easily changed when the pH is slightly alkaline in your body. So that's another reason why it's really important to keep your body at a slightly alkaline pH as much as you possibly can so that these proteins are able to work most effectively. There are more than 30,000 different kinds of proteins just because there are 20 different amino acids and different combinations of them create different proteins. Genes are proteins, and they act as a template for synthesizing or making other proteins. And then the proteins that you ingest through your food, or the ones that are actually made in the body, are transported to cells to carry out some function. They're used to make more proteins. They're used as structural support or different building materials for cells, different parts of cells, different compounds that are needed by cells. They act as enzymes, they act as hormones, they regulate fluid balance in the body, they also regulate acid-base balance, they act as carriers to transport other substances throughout the body, they help to create antibodies, and they're also a source of energy and glucose during times of starvation. So typically, the body will use carbohydrates first. When carbohydrates are available, the body will use carbohydrates as energy. When carbohydrates are in short supply, the body will then use fats as energy, either dietary fat or body fat. And then when that's in short supply, then the body actually turns on itself and starts cannibalizing muscles and breaking down our muscle tissue into different amino acids, and starts to use those as an energy source to keep the body alive when there's not enough food coming in. So some of you may have heard of complete proteins. A complete protein basically means that it contains all 9 essential amino acids. It has a very wide or diverse profile in terms of amino acids. So not only does it contain all the essential amino acids, but also contains the non-essential amino acids. So these are foods like meat, fish, dairy products, eggs, quinoa, buckwheat, hemp, chia seed, and spirulina, which is a blue-green algae. And you'll notice that all of these are whole foods, real food, and not supplements. Incomplete proteins are nuts and seeds, legumes, grains, and vegetables. That doesn't mean they're not good proteins. It just means that they'll need to be supplemented with some other kind of protein in order to get all of those essential and non-essential amino acids that we need. So this is a really popular question that I get a lot. How much protein do I actually need? And the answer is it depends. It depends on fat loss goals, muscle growth goals, your activity level, your gender, and your age. I think a good rule of thumb is to eat some kind of protein at every single meal and within 60 minutes of vigorous exercise. If your goal is body fat loss, A good rule of thumb is to shoot for 30% of your calories from protein, which means that a third of your plate should be a protein source. But I think regardless of whether your goal is body fat loss or not, shooting for 30% of your calories from protein is a really good goal to shoot for. And that turns out to be between 50 and 100 grams per day. If you are very, very active, or you lift weights a lot, or you're a bodybuilder or something like that, then your protein would be much higher than that. But that's a really good range to shoot for, just for normal, everyday, moderately active types of lifestyles. Another question I get a lot is about protein powder. So I always say that protein from food is best, but I understand that sometimes the convenience of protein powders is what we're looking for. Protein powders can be good if you're getting them from a high quality source. They can help to minimize food cravings. They help to build muscle. They can help to serve as a meal replacement, although I don't recommend using protein powders as meal replacements. I think I typically recommend using protein powders solely for post-workout. So when you work out and then within 60 minutes have some kind of protein powder. And the reason I recommend that is because you typically absorb the protein from protein powders faster than you would an actual meal. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a meal within 60 minutes of a workout. So either one is fine. Then there are different kinds of protein powders. Whey is probably the most popular one. Whey is actually a byproduct of cheese making, and it helps with muscle growth and body fat loss. And people who are lactose intolerant tend to have issues digesting whey. So whey isolate is a good replacement for that, because whey isolate is actually a process where they separate the liquid from the protein, so it contains a higher percentage of protein and less lactose. Some of them have no lactose in them. It might even just say on the label lactose free for whey isolates. There are also plant-based proteins like hemp, pea, and brown rice. And then other animal-based proteins are egg white, beef, and casein protein, which is a milk protein, and it digests a lot slower than whey protein would. And whenever you're looking for a protein powder, look for one that doesn't have artificial flavors or sweeteners, and at least 15 grams of protein per serving. If you're going for an animal-based, I would highly recommend grass-fed. So grass-fed whey, grass-fed egg white, grass-fed beef protein. You'll get a lot more of a nutritional profile from grass-fed than you will from non-grass-fed. And they typically tend to be a lot more natural in terms of the ingredients that they use. It's just a higher quality type of protein. And then to finish up, I just wanted to kind of put out some common amino acid supplements that you might want to consider. So branched chain amino acids are really good for those that work out a lot. It helps with recovery from workouts and improves physical performance. It also preserves muscle mass. Then lysine is another amino acid that you can use to supplement your diet to prevent cold sores if you get frequent outbreaks. Lysine is really good for helping to prevent that. Tryptophan is helpful for relieving pain and can also help with insomnia and depression. L-glutamine is an amino acid that helps to boost immune system function, so it can help if you're recovering from a surgery or from an injury or something like that. And then it also helps to support brain function and proper digestion. So if you're doing a gut cleanse, then glutamine is definitely something that will help to heal that gut lining. And then another amino acid is 5-HTP. It's actually a precursor of serotonin, and it enhances mood and sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping, I would recommend taking 5-HTP before you go to bed at night to help boost your sleep quality. So those are some of the amino acid supplements. There are a lot of them out there that can be beneficial in certain circumstances. So might be something that you might want to consider, because amino acids have such a huge role in the body. And so if you're experiencing some symptom, it might be related to some deficiency in amino acid. So it's just something to keep in mind. That's all we have for protein. Thanks.